We're going to open it up now to questions from the audience. What I would really appreciate, we're 2 days away from the primary. Dr. Paul is surging, about 20% now. So it's absolutely critical that we get every vote possible. So I ask you, if you're a Ron Paul supporter, if you're from out of town, please leave it to the undecided voters who are from New Hampshire to ask questions, please. Okay, and there should be some people going around in the audience with microphones to ask questions.
Hold on. One of the most devastating diagnoses a family or a senior can get is that of Alzheimer's or dementia. What would you do to help stop this terrible disease, which is affecting more and more and costing our country billions in productivity every year?
Well, I think what we have to do for all devastating diseases, if you know somebody that's suffering from Alzheimer's, it's devastating. But all diseases are devastating. What you want is a system that is the most efficient way of taking care of problems like that, which means that you have to really challenge, depending on the government, to do it. Because the government gets involved, and if you take the research and development of government, most of those funds are divvied out for political reasons. Drug companies are very powerful. So even though some good can come from that, it's really not the answer. It's the change in the medical system that we have now, that we get totally dependent on the government. Now, in my proposal for these significant cuts, it doesn't deal with, I have priorities that I try to protect because we have become so dependent on some of these, whether it's Social Security or medical care and some medical research and child health care. I'm trying to get a system where we can work things out and take care of people like that. But if we continue to do what we're doing, whether you're sick or not sick, you're not going to get anything. And Social Security, it will collapse if we collapse our currency. So whether it's Alzheimer or cancer or whatever, the most efficient way to solve those problems is not through dependency on government, because all those funds are allotted for political reasons, and they're not necessarily the most efficient. To assume if the government doesn't do it, it won't happen is a false assumption, because if the government's on our way and we became prosperous again instead of a shrinking middle class, there will be more funds. Even in spite of all this, there are some very wealthy people in this country who do put a lot of money into research. There'd be hundreds, if not thousands of more people who would have these funds available. If we would have stuck with this, hospitals that were run by churches and others, we wouldn't be facing this crisis. Even in the midst of all these problems that we have, even today in Galveston, Texas, we have a hospital that takes care of burn patients and this is children, and they're not charged. So the confidence has to be placed. Can these problems, these difficult problems, be solved only by government, or would they be much better if you had a free and prosperous economy and worked many of these problems out as we did before 1965?
GrokTV.